important reminder. All information and ideas are for informational purposes only and are in no way intended as medical advice or as a substitute for medical counseling. Earthshift Products, Dr. Robert Cassar, all of their partners, affiliates, and subsidiaries will not be held accountable for the use or misuse of the information presented therein. This information is not intended as medical advice. The authors, publishers, and speakers of this work are not medical doctors and do not recommend the use of mineral-deficient foods, drugs, or medicines to achieve beauty and to alleviate health challenges. Because there is always some risk involved, all persons involved with the development and distribution of this information are not responsible for any adverse effects or consequences of any kind resulting from the use or misuse of any suggestions or procedures described on our website or Earthshift Live radio talk show or therein.
See, the lymph system is a huge filter. And the lymph system is really what you could call the primary filter of this machine. Remember, it has about 3 times the amount of fluid as the blood does. So everybody keeps talking about their blood. Your blood's very smart. It has to keep between 7.3 and 7.46 pH just to be able to keep you so you can function. It's a homeostasis system. It has to steal things from the other part of the system to be able to make that part work all the time. So you can see the blood is not something you want to take. You go to the doctor, he sees your blood, so what? That's not what we want to look at. It's nice to be able to just look and see that your homeostasis system's working, but it's really not what we want to look at. The lymph system is very important. It's not talked about. Actually, when I went to school, we didn't even hardly learn about it. Think of each one of your pores as a porthole to the inside of your body, to the lymph system. And it would be very smart to see how you could open up those portholes. There's not just one. Remember, you've got thousands of portholes. It's like you're in a ship, like in this room right now, and he's got one porthole open over there. It's the door. It's letting in air. Shut the door, this room becomes stale. What lives in a room with no oxygen? Anaerobic microbes, black mold. And once you get certain types of mold, yeast and fungus, they don't want to leave too easy. Remember, everything wants to live in this machine once you ignite it. Everything wants to live. So I always tell everybody, if you think you're going to kill something, then that's a bad mistake. It's your child that lives inside your body. We're going to go through some areas here on the PowerPoint that'll make sense when we get to parasites. But the lymph system, remember, is one of the factors that cause you to become the tune that you are. The lymph system, remember, has 3 times or so the volume inside your body. So if it's full or plugged up of certain types of chemicals, synthetics, different types of particles that aren't you, wouldn't you think, like I said, the plastic here is a live being. Live meaning that it has a vibration. So if you swallow this piece of plastic, what it does is it perverts your pure vibration. And you can see it's very easy to pervert living in the city, eating genetically modified foods, having foods that are swimming in plastics, insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. Remember, mercury, cadmium, aluminum, lead, arsenic, thallium, stainless steel. These are all heavy metals. Some of them go to different parts of the body. Aluminum goes into the brain. Finds its way there. You ever heard of people say they have Alzheimer's? Okay? Silicon and aluminum are just about the same exact element. Silicon is a +3 charged element, and aluminum is a +2 charged. The body doesn't sometimes see the difference between the two, so you want to stay away from aluminum. And what's in aluminum? Well, they say the chemtrails are loaded full of them. Aluminum silverware, aluminum utensils, they call it, aluminum pans. Jewelry is a huge toxicity in men and women. Does anybody know what sterling silver is? Alchemists? What is sterling silver? How much silver? You've seen, you go to a guy, he goes, oh, it's 92.5. Okay? What's the rest of the silver, 100%. You got 92.5, I already told you, that's what I was talking about. So what is it?
Nickel.
Nickel. Use, I went to Giuliano's Raw, you know, when, a while ago, and I said, Giuliano, I mean, all this stuff is cool, but you're not seeing toxicology a little bit, because you can't see it all. So he shows me things, I show him things, and they're beating up some stuff in a stainless steel, and stainless steel, when you look at it, is nickel, chrome, vanadium, all different types of heavy metals. And he's taking a metal beater, and you look at the thing, I said, now, when you're done with this thing, let's clean this. Where are all those scratches? Where do you think the food got scratched? The pan and the nickel goes into the food. Himalayan salt. This is stone ground. The guy that, the company that's actually a family over in Pakistan, this is a 300-million-year-old closed mine. I wouldn't have any salt unless it was a closed mine, because salt absorbs a lot of toxicity. Sea salt, unless it's coming from like a 2,000 foot. There's some salts that actually they grab from about a 2,000 foot level and they dry them out. Those are good. But any surface salt is not really smart. This is stone ground. Stone ground. So most of the new companies, what they do is they've moved up to technology. And technology was to be able to get a machine. So they get a big steel blade, stainless steel, nickel. And after about a month of grinding that hard salt, that stuff is hard as a rock. Blades this big. Where do you think all that metal went? Nickel poisoning is a huge problem. Huge. Everybody in this room right now has nickel in their body. Everybody in this room has lead. Everybody in this room, including myself, has plasticizer, bisphenol A. How much you have is another story. So learning where these booby traps are is some of the areas that we talk about. And then how do you get it out? That's another story. That's a whole other, and it would be pretty much asinine. You know, I mean, I'm trying to keep thinking about different words to use, but that's the only ones I can really. It would be foolish for you to think that you can clean. This body's 18 gallons of salt water, and how do you think you can clean it if your rivers are pouring in dirt all the time? It'd be insane. You have to stop the rivers first from polluting the lake. Then you can clean it up. So people say, what do I do to take it out? How about what do you do to stop poisoning yourself? Leon went to Dr. Morales and cleaned up his mouth. And that would be the #1 thing. And I know you can't do that maybe tomorrow or next week, and you can find any dentist you want, but this is the dentist I found that's been doing gem therapy for a while. I would use a person who's a pioneer because they've changed a lot of their ways. Everybody's researching. I was going to say, Glenn, have you changed your ways over the last few years of what you used to do? 100%. 100%. What I did 10 years ago, I was doing the best that I knew I was doing. I don't do any of it anymore. I've caused myself to get sick. I've taken probably about 3 kilos of ethylene diamine tetracetic acid. 3 kilos. And if you read the certificate of analysis from Spectrum Pharmaceutical, you'll see that if you take this, it'll give you 2 types of cancers. 1, birth defects. State of California, you'll get birth defects from it. Number 2, it's shown to cause cancer, or to be able to excite this thing called cancer, which of course we were talking about last 2 hours, that cancer, in my opinion, is a parasite. Doesn't become a big mystery when you see cancer as a parasite, because then you ask the question, what does it feed on? How does it live? Well, it lives in acid, it lives in pollution, and it lives in a body that's plugged. Those are 3 general, simple things. There's many more. It loves also electrical magnetic fields that are none other than alternating current. It hates DC current. So grounding yourself at night would be very smart. As I was saying before, I have a magnet in my pocket here, just not because of anything more. I wanted to show you. I wear this little meteorite on my chest here. Your heart does make electricity. It pumps the blood a little bit, but it's insane to think that your heart pumps blood. Body has 75,000 miles of hose. Your arms and your legs pull the blood under implosion through this machine. It's impossible for it to be able to push the blood. Nothing in nature is pushed. Our sun pulls us through the galaxy. Tornadoes, hurricanes, the toilet, it's all an implosion. That's nature. Your hands and your feet are very important once you find out that this is how the blood turns around and comes back, because this is a closed system. And if it's plugged, and usually it's going to get plugged with bisphenol A, plastic, heavy metals, different types of chemicals, synthetics, or whatever soup you can go ahead and mix together, in sulfuric, acetic acid, hydrochloric acids, because it turns into cement. And where it goes, nobody knows. But all I can tell you is that your hands and your feet are very important for you to make sure that the blood can flow back to the heart. If it doesn't, that's why you don't like to run or do exercise, is only because you're plugged. And most people say, how do you know you're plugged? Take your clothes off and look in the mirror. It's very easy to tell. Your skin's paper thin, paper thin. 7 layers, let's say 6 to 7 layers thick. Below that is the balloon called the lymph system, and that's where all the junk is caught. And below that, of course, is what we call muscles, ligaments, and tendons. And stuff catches in there too. Glenn, don't you know it? Glenn has a clinic over in, what area are you in? And this is very smart for people to get on the program, is to really see that there's a variety of cleaning. I start from the outside of the skin. I work my way in a little bit. I go myself a little deeper. I go into the muscles, ligaments, and tendons. And then we get right down to what? The best part, the bone. Right on top, the fascial. Does it hurt? Yeah. If you don't soften up these systems here, most likely all you're going to do is cause yourself more detriment. So you'll really, I tell people, don't even bother doing a lot of this body work until you get on more of an alkaline diet, until you start rehydrating yourself. Food does nothing more than most of the time is plug you up. Remember, dead food gives rise to creatures that eat dead food. The parasites that are in the body are only there because they're helping us. Without yeast, mold, and fungus, if you eat dead food, then this food would sit in our guts and cause us to get very sick. If I eat cooked food right now, a lot of times, if I go on pure enzymes, it bothers my stomach a little because I don't really have a lot of those microbes that eat the dead food. And if I eat it for a little while, of course, I notice right away my skin doesn't, because my skin's pretty thin. If you see some of the videos I have, you can see your body's really easy to see that it's covered with a very thin layer of plastic, as you can, and it's see-through.